Welcome to Master the Game. I am Juice, and today I'm going to be talking about something that came up on Twitter just the other day. So, over on Twitter, I've seen some posts about Runehammer's hardcore D&D, I think is what it is. It looks really cool. I don't own it. It sounds like a lot of stuff I would actually be interested in trying, but I don't really have the groups to try that with. Either way, someday I'm sure I'll try some of the things in there, but again, don't have the book. However, again, it sounds good, so I definitely think you guys should go pick it up if you like toying with some of the mechanics of your games. Now, I saw a post the other day from my good friend Luke over at the DM Lair, which if you have not seen his channel, you need to get over there and watch it. I'd be surprised if you haven't seen his channel before and you're watching mine, but hey, that's another topic for another day. Luke said that he prefers 4d6, drop the lowest, for himself as a player. However, as a DM, he likes to make his players do point buy or the standard array. It had me scratching my head. Luke is a very experienced DM. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve. So I was reading through some of the comments, and I've been having some fun with it for a couple days on Twitter, posting memes. In fact, I saw later a post by Runehammer talking about how he did 3d6 down the line with his group based on his new supplement that came out, and he showed the stats of all the characters, and I thought it sounded kind of interesting. Sounded like it might make for some hard gameplay for quite a while in some 5e D&D. And I'm somebody who doesn't think like the rest of the people about 5e. I don't think it's this super easy game for players. I think we have a lot of DMs out there that might fudge their dice rolls and hold back in a lot of ways. Because if I'm running a module or something, it seems like I kill characters very easily. In my homebrew games, I don't do it as much, but I do more house rules and stuff. I do kind of try to favor rules and rulings for my players sometimes. So that's just the way it is. Now, if I rule something in favor of the players, later on it can also benefit the bad guys and NPCs, such as crit fails, right? I've had crit fails from monsters take out other monsters before. I've had crit fails from players hurt other players, So that's just how I do things. Now, anyways, so Luke said he prefers his players to do point buy or standard array. So he listed some reasons. Obviously, he couldn't get into the whole meat of it, and there's a lot more reasons he said. But one of the things he said is that the players are already powerful enough. And to me, I don't think that's a good reason, because I don't think they are. I know there's more abilities and stuff than there used to be in old editions, like 2nd edition. But in the grand scheme of things, as a DM, you have the same stuff in your toolbox for your monsters, and you have other things like traps, and you control everything else, so you never really are outmatched. So I didn't understand that for me. For me, that wouldn't be a good reason. So I like to let my players do 4d6, drop the lowest. I tend to have players who prefer that too. I would love to have a group that did 3d6 down the line and was willing to experiment more with things like that. I've had players who have told me outright if we use the permanent injury table, they wouldn't be interested in playing. They like it more gamey. They don't like it on hard mode. And that's okay. And that's okay how Luke wants to run his games. I don't have a problem with that. And he plays in my Descent into Avernus game, which you can see on this channel. This Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, you can see episode 5. And if you're watching this in the future, we have a playlist for it. So go on over. You can watch all the videos. We play with some great people. Nate from WSD20, Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, Paula from Awkwardly Nerdy, which hasn't put out a video in 5 years. Hopefully someday that'll change. We just got to figure out her password. I can't remember what it was. She has no clue what it was. So we're kind of, yeah. Anyways, back on topic. I know this is a little ranty, but I am somebody who thinks as a DM we have all these tools in our toolbox, a lot of times I see DMs not using things like spells against their players or things like that. And remember, when your players are like 3rd level, the spellcaster they're fighting who's by himself should probably be like 6th level. You know, like he needs to be higher level or he has no shot of even being a threat. And with that comes better spells like Fireball. And Fireball could technically wipe out a 3rd or 4th level party if you roll well. You know, and as you get higher, say you have level 13 party, you've got things like, I don't know, probably Power Word Kill and Meteor Swarm and whatever else you can think of. I mean, there's some major things that you can do to your players. So, you know, really, players are never too powerful, in my opinion. Again, just my opinion. You know, and you can tailor the play, like the areas that encounters happen around their weaknesses. Like if they have no area of effect, it's very easy to attack them and whittle them down. You just throw a little bit more monsters with maybe less powerful. But if they have a lot of area of effect, typically what that means is you might want to throw beefier monsters, but less numbers of them. You know, you can attack weaknesses very easily. If you've got paladins and clerics that can turn undead and radiant damage the crap out of them, well, maybe you should not be throwing so many undead at them. Because a undead monster encounter is not going to be a challenge. If you've got a lot of tanky type characters like your barbarian and fighter and paladin, and maybe you have a Circle of the Moon druid, attack their intelligence stat, attack their charisma stat with a spell or something here and there. You know, like there's so many things you can do that can still make it a challenge or lethal if that's the concern. And so I think letting your players roll the attributes, the 4d6 drop the lowest. I don't let anybody re-roll ones. I've had people say 4d6 drop the lowest, re-roll ones. If that's what you want to do in your group, that's fine. To me, that's a little bit overkill. Then like all your stats are above like a 14. I don't like that. So I like a good mix. I like having that range of, you know, a 8 to a 15, you know, with a higher average. You know, having maybe one stat above a 16. I like that range, really. Some people like just having massively epic characters, and that's okay. I allow feats. The game's not designed to use feats. That's the other thing people fail to realize. They're like, well, I don't understand why it's so easy. I'm doing the CR. First of all, use the CR calculations based on Xanathar's Guide to Everything. It's been fixed since the core books. That will help you. On top of that, try not to use feats. Stick to the rule of PHB +1, where if a player wants to choose something from Xanathar's Guide to Everything, they can only stick to Xanathar's Guide to Everything in the PHB. You can't let them choose stuff from all the books, right? Again, I let my players use any of the published books. I let them use feats. We do 46 drop the lowest. I've never had a problem making games difficult. I've never had a problem challenging my players. I've never had a problem blowing their resources or anything like that. So, again, I know not everyone's able to do this. I've tried to have these talks with people. I actually ignore the CRs a little bit. I tend to focus more on what are my players good at, what are their weaknesses, and then that's how I attack it. If I really want a certain feel of a boss fight, okay, I want this to feel tough. Like this dragon they're going up against, he's not your typical dragon. Maybe he doesn't have a breath weapon. Maybe he does a thunder wave instead, you know, or whatever. Lots of ways you can do it. So there's no one way to play the game. There's no right way to play the game. It's whatever you guys enjoy. And I hope you take that to your table. But don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to experiment. if you feel more comfortable experimenting with some of the mechanics by yourself, maybe do a little simulation in prep. Like, all right, I know what these characters are. I know what spells they have. They might do this. Do a quick little simulation. See how it might play out in your head, and or on paper beforehand, and see if that is what you want. It's a couple extra steps to prep, but I think it'll help. So anyways, I know this is a long-winded video about point buy, standard array, attributes. I see the value in all of it, right? Point buy, standard array is more consistent attribute-wise, but what is a +1 or a +2 difference on rolls? It's really not that high in 5e. It does not make that big of a difference, I feel. Other things like abilities and feats make far more difference. Dexterity is probably a really good attribute. Armor class, in my opinion, is more important than whatever your attributes are. So that's the stuff that's going to matter, I think, way more than your attributes anyways. So let your players have some fun. That's what I want to encourage you guys to do. And, maybe if I change one person's mind out there and they find a better way to play for them, then this was a successful video. If not, I at least had fun giving Luke a hard time a little bit more. And, yeah. So anyways, this was Master of the Game. I am Juice. Game on.